Hey, my name's Izzy. This is Rolling Virtual Cards, coming at you with another Magic the Gathering video. Quick TLDR, I guess. Been out for a month. Depression sucks. And anxiety sucks. And being busy sucks. But I'm back. And I'm just going to make some card videos about my decks. I've made too many, and I want to go through them. I'm trying to make every single commander deck. Because it's fun. Moxfield makes it easy. I've done all the Lord of the Rings decks, so that's what I'm going to do. Hopefully a video. I'm hopefully going to be doing one video a day in December, which is why I'm recording this the last week of November, so I can get ahead of time. That TLDR aside, let's talk about Aragorn, company leader. Is it? Yeah, it's company leader. 1 green, white for a 3/3 legendary creature, human ranger. Whenever the ring tempts you, if you choose a creature other than Aragorn, company leader, as the ring bearer, put your choice of counter from among First Strike, Vigilance, Death Touch, and Lifelink on Aragorn. When you put one or more counters on Aragorn, put one of each of those kinds of counters on up to one other target creature. So the way this works is simple. We're looking for a deck that tempts you with the ring, chooses not Aragorn, gives Aragorn First Strike, Vigilance, or Death Touch, and then puts those counters on another creature. All of them are pretty good. Getting First Strike and Death Touch on something is pretty nice. Moving those counters around can be good. But mainly you're just looking for a ring tempt and to abuse that. For people who don't know what the ring tempt does, I'll quickly show that off here. That is this. The ring tempts you, so you get an emblem, you put it on the ring bearer. The first time when the ring wait, this is not the right. Here we go. The ring. The first time it tempts you, the ring bearer is legendary, cannot be blocked by creatures with greater power. Second time it happens, when the ring bearer attacks, you draw a card, then discard a card, giving you some card advantage. The third time the ring tempts you, the ring bearer becomes. If the ring bearer or whenever the ring bearer becomes blocked by a creature, that creature's controller sacrifices it at the end of combat. So, if you swing and someone blocks something and it's bigger, so it can't be blocked by creatures with greater power. But if it has bigger toughness, so if you're swinging with like a 1/5, and they're like, well, I'll block you with my 1/6 or my 1/2. It doesn't die, but at the end of combat, they have to sacrifice it. And then, lastly, the fourth time it gets the ring tempts you, whenever the ring bearer deals combat damage to a player, each opponent loses 3 life. This does trigger off double strike, which is pretty nice. That being said, let's take a look at the deck. It doesn't want to keep my preferences. I'll quickly flip that. There we go. So we'll go over this. I do sort by card type and mana. So we'll hit a bunch of this stuff and just see how the deck works. Note, some of these decks might not have newer cards because I built them a little bit ago. My decks are never meant to be cookie cuttered. I mean, you definitely could cookie cutter my deck and play it anywhere. But I highly suggest you just take it as a baseline and run with it. Like, find some cards you prefer, some new cards. Just get an idea from the deck. So we're running Birds of Paradise. This is just a simple mono ramp, decent mono ramp package. Same thing with Delighted Halfling is here just for ramp and to prevent our legendaries from being countered. And Aragorn, not that I think people are going to counter it, but it does get Aragorn out faster. Getting Aragorn out turn 2 is great, which you can do pretty easily with Monodorks. Faye. Stop it. My cat's trying to scratch at the window. Esper Sentinel is here. If it's too expensive, you can obviously, like, price here depends on a few things, which I've explained, I think, in other videos. But simply put, if a card's too expensive, proxy it if your group is fine with proxying, or replace it with another card. Esper Sentinel is here because it's a quick way to draw some cards. That's about it. It's also cheap. Hopeful Initiative, great for 1/1 counter, removing 2 1/1 counters. It's just a great interactive piece. It's cheap. It comes onto the field. You can use it to destroy English. You can use it to remove artifacts and enchantments, and since you're doing 1 counter stuff with this card, it can be very useful. Because again, when you put 1 or more counters in Aragorn, you put those kinds of counters on other target creatures, on up to 1 other target creatures. So if you put like a 1/1 counter on it, you get to put 1/1 counters other places. So this card helps that, and that's why Esper Sentinel is in here. I don't like using him all the time, but when you can actually, when he plays into your thing, like, oh, I can get the Esper Sentinel bigger so that I have to pay more, I like that. I think it's interesting. It works with the feel of the deck. Land of War Elves is here for ramp. Enoch Bondkin is here for the Outlast, and not necessarily the Outlast, but mainly to give all creatures 1/1 counters first strike, which is useful, allowing all your creatures to be able to defend or strike a little better. Conclave Mentor allows you, if 1 or more 1/1 counters be put on a creature you control, that many 1/1 counters are put on a creature instead, or +1. If it dies, you gain life equals true power. It's here specifically so that we can double up the 1/1 counters we're putting everywhere, which is great when you put a 1/1 counter on Aragorn, and then you put a second, so that'll be 2 1/1 counters on Aragorn. And then you get to put 2 1/1 counters on your Esper Sentinel, because you put 1/1 counter on it using Aragorn's effect, and Conclave will double it. Then we've got something like Duskskull Crawler, which enters with a 1/1 counter, and gives all creatures with 1/1 counters trample, which helps everyone get in a little better. Frodo Baggins does tempt you, so when Frodo Baggins or another legendary creature enters the battlefield under your control, the ring tempts you. As long as Frodo is your ring bearer, it must be blocked if able. This is great. Simple way to try to get the ring out, or to get the ring out. Just cast Frodo. After you have your commander out, your commander is going to be able to you target Frodo with the ring. Since you didn't target Aragorn, Aragorn will get a nice first strike, vigilance, or death touch, or lifelink. And then Frodo will get one of them. And since it must be blocked, giving it death touch is great. Cataldi Dawnheart Prime is here because humans you control have add 1 mana of any color. Which is useful because you are running a handful of humans. Aragorn is a human itself, but also for 6 you can put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control, which is great. Again, with Aragorn, you're going to be able to put another 1/1 counter on another creature. Luminarch Aspirant is here because at the beginning of each combat on your turn, you put a 1/1 counter on target creature. So each combat, you're just going to be putting a counter on Aragorn and a counter on something else. Pollen Bright Druid's here because it enters the battlefield. You put a 1/1 counter on target creature, or you proliferate. And proliferating is great because that's each type of counter. So, because the proliferating is individual triggers, if Aragorn has like a 1/1 counter, first strike, death touch, and lifelink, let's say, you can proliferate each one of those, giving him a second one of them, and each one will then go to another creature, which is very useful. Tribe-Elder's Ramp, Samwise, the Stout-Hearted is, I like the card. I find it very interesting in white decks that are creature-based, because if something destroys one of your permanents, you can just flash it in and grab it, plus the ring tempts you, which is the main reason it's here. because the ring tempts you, and getting that ring tempt to the max really helps push damage output. Took Reaper, when it dies, the ring tempts you. Again, it's here just for the ring tempting me. I'll swing with it, hopefully it dies. Abs and Falconer, giving me all my 1/1 counter creatures flying. Spread those, fly in, take out damage. It's a great way to start damaging people. Boromir, Warden of Tower, is another ring tempts you. It's just also a really good card. 3/3 Vigilance, great for attacking. And then when whenever an opponent casts a spell, if no mana was spent to cast it, counter that spell. I love countering free magic spells. Stop it. Stop using free cards. Stop cheating things out. And then you can sacrifice it to give... sacrifice it, and creatures you control get indestructible until turn, and the ring tempts you. So this does so much for a creature-based deck. I love it so much. The only reason I don't run it in more decks in the future is because it has the ring tempts you, and I don't want to keep track of the ring a lot. Eternal Witness, it's a staple in the format, guys. You cast it, you get a card back. It's a blocker. It can become bigger in this type of deck. A Generous Patron, it supports 2, so you put a 1/1 counter up to 2 creatures, and whenever you put 1 or more counters on a creature you don't control, draw a card. So I believe this says on another, counters on up to 1 other target creature. So it technically works with Generous Pattern because you can, or Patron, because you can put the 1/1 counters on your opponent's creatures, someone you're making a deal with, someone you're friends with, and you can draw cards. Very interesting. Glunch, the Bestower, is great because at the end step, you put 2 1/1 counters on a creature they control, or target player puts 2 1/1 counters on creatures they control. Second player draws a card. Third player creates 2 treasure tokens. So someone gets left out. But putting 2 1/1 counters on a creature you control, you just buff Glunch, to be fair, or you can start buffing Aragorn. Get it bigger, get other people bigger. If you need the draw, grab the draw. Otherwise, grab the treasures. It's friendly, it's nice. The 1/1 counters also work with Generous Patron, which is cool. Heliod's Uncrowned is here because you have enough life gain here to be able to push the 1/1 counters on it. Plus, she can give life gain, and Aragorn can give life gain to things, allowing you to put 1/1 counters over everywhere. And again, you're never putting 1/1 counters on something that's not Aragorn. They're going on Aragorn because you get to put them on something else afterwards. Honorable Elite is honor. Heroine Blade Elite. Maybe it's Heroine Blade. I don't know. Heroine Blade Elite is great because it's a human. It enters the battlefield under your control. You put a 1/1 counter on it, and then you tap for 1 of any color where X is its power, and you can keep buffing with more 1/1 counters. Kami is here because it does similar things. It taps for its X power, just like Heroine Blade, but this one doubles the 1/1 counters or an additional 1/1 on stuff, which is great. When it dies, you get the ring tempts you. It's here for ring tempting. Nihilus is here because at the beginning of end step, each player puts a 1/1 counter on up to 1 target creature they control, and then each creature with 1 or more counters on it can't attack you or planeswalkers you control. That's why X, where X is the number of counters on it. This works with the Generous Patron, the Glunch itself, some other cards, even Aragorn, where, things have counters and now you can't attack me. Attack other things. Orin Reef Ooze is cool. It enters the battlefield with a 1/1 counter on it, and if it attacks, put a 1/1 counter on each attacking creature with a 1/1 counter, which means you will attack, with all your creatures with 1/1 counters. It gets a 1/1 counter. Aragorn's going to get a 1/1 counter, something else is going to get an extra 1/1 counter. They might be doubled. Big swing there. Orzhov Advocus, simply put, at the beginning of your upkeep, each player may put 2 1/1 counters on a creature they control. If a player does, creatures that player control can't attack you or planeswalkers you go next turn. This is great. Works with Generous Patron and a few other things. Buffing your things, putting 2 counters on Aragorn. Aragorn's going to get big. You're going to be able to one-shot people with Aragorn, and your other things can defend you afterwards. Pyr is in here for doubling the counters, and this actually doubles the counters instead of 1 extra. Or no, +1 of each of those. Yeah, it's just +1. Pride Milliken is here because it enters the battle with the 1 counter on it. Put 1/1 counter on target creature. Each creature you control with the 1 counter has trample. Giving Aragorn trample is just useful, and putting the 1 counter on Aragorn is great. Rishkar's here to make all the creatures with 1/1 counters tap with counters, plus it puts 1/1 counters. This gives counter trample to all the 1/1 counter guys, which again, great way to get in. Lifelink to the 1/1 counter guys, again, great way to get in. Plus, Outlast is like, I know it's a sorcery, but it does give you something to do with your mana if you've got nothing else to do, which isn't bad. Armorcraft Judge is draw a card for each creature you control with 1/1 counter. Great way to draw a lot of cards. Plus, it's a 3/3, you can get bigger. Basilisk Lieutenant. Vigilance, protection from multicolor is interesting, but when it enters the battlefield, put a 1/1 counter on target creature you control. You put an Aragorn. When it or another creature you control dies, if it had a 1/1 counter on it, create a 2/2 White Knight creature token with Vigilance. Great protection against board wipes. If someone board wipes and you have 5 creatures with 1/1 counters, you're going to get 5 2/2s in the process of the ball dying. Forgotten Agent gathers the 1/1 counters when your opponent's when any player casts spells, and then you can distribute them. You can put them all in Aragorn so he can just one-shot people, and then put another 1 counter on someone else. Put a 1/1 counter on target creature you control for each elf you control. You're running elves for ramp. Great way to buff something. Ivy Lane Denizen. If another green creature enters the battlefield under your control, put a 1/1 counter on target creature. This is any creature, not just a green creature. So it's anyone, and I like this one better than the Demigod, because I can put the 1/1 counters on Aragorn, allowing me to then put another 1 counter somewhere else. There we go. Lenore Autumn Linery Autumn's Souvenir Sovereign, maybe. At the beginning of combat on your turn, put a 1/1 counter on up to 1 target creature you control. Then, if you control 3 or more creatures with different powers, draw cards. This is going to be draw power, plus each turn you're putting a 1/1 counter on Aragorn, which means a 1/1 counter on something else. Slippery Bog Bonder is great because you put a hexproof counter on target creature. Then move any number of counters from among creatures you control onto that creature. So you put a hexproof counter on it, put a hexproof counter on something else. Then you're moving all these counters to him, and since they're all different counters, they all trigger Aragorn, and you can just distribute those counters wherever you want to. Also, move any number of counters from among creatures. You could move all your 1/1 counters to Aragorn and just one-shot someone. Hamza costs 1 less for each creature you control with the 1/1 counter, and then creature spells you cast cost 1 less for each creature you control with the 1/1 counter, allowing you to really get that reduced mana out. It's one of the few 6 drops I'm running, and this card's used at 8, but you can cycle it, and when you cycle it, you put trample counter on target creature you control. So it's just a 2-drop, discard, draw, and then you put a trample counter on Aragorn and then on someone else. Sorceries, mostly all ramp. Farseeker's ramp, Nature's Lore is ramp, Rampant Growth is ramp, the thing that made ramp called ramp. 3 Visits is ramp. Now for Wrath, now for Rain. You put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control. They gain Vigilance until their turn. The ring tempts you. So not only does the ring tempt you, giving Aragorn another ability, another type of counter, and something else, every creature gets a 1/1 counter, which is just great in your deck. And the ring goes south. The ring tempts you. That's why it's in here. But then you reveal cards at the top of your library. You reveal X land cards, where X is the number of legendary creatures you control. Put those land cards onto the battlefield, tapped, and return the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So yeah, so this is a great ramp card, actually, to be fair. You got 3 or 4 legendaries, go find 3 or you keep going till you find 3 or 4 lands, put them on the field, plus the ring tempts you. Instance, Path to Exile is interaction, Swords of Palaces interaction. Bombadil's Song, target creature you control gets +1/+1 against hexproof till end of the turn, protecting Aragorn, and the ring tempts you. Heroic Intervention, great card, protect your stuff. Slip on the ring. Exile target creature you own, then return to the battlefield under your control. The ring tempts you. There's a few decent ETB creatures here, like Rishkar, and stuff. Slippery Bog Bonder is pretty good. And the ring tempts you. That's why it's here. Beast Within, Generous Gift, both great removal spells in EDH. Inspiring Call is the instant version of the creature. So you draw, it's 3, and then you draw a card for each creature with the 1/1 counter on it, and those creatures get indestructible until turn, giving you protection. More ramps. Soul Ring, Wayfarer's Bauble, Arcane Signet, Fellower Stone, Mind Stone, Thought Vessel, Command Sphere. Inherited Envelope. When it enters the battlefield, the ring tempts you. I love this. One thing you'll notice about my decks in the future, I don't run colorless 2-drop rocks unless you're 2 or less colors. 3 colors, I'm going to run more stuff like Command Sphere. And I tend to not run Command Sphere in like 3-drop colors or 2-drop or less colors unless I feel like it. A hardened skill is an extra 1 counters. Shortcut to Mushrooms. When Shortcut to Mushrooms is the battlefield, the ring tempts you. That's why it's in here. But also at the beginning of your end step, if it's permanent you control that the battlefield this turn, put a 1/1 counter on target creature you control. Perfectly fine. Gets to put 1/1 counters on it sometimes. And then the lands. You got 13 plains, 13 forests. You got Canopy Vista, Command Tower, Exotic Orchard, Fortified Village, Myriad Landscape, Path of Ancestries, Rogue's Passage, which is in here because Aragorn wants to kill people, and Sungrass Prairie. That is the deck. TLDR, I guess. This deck plays very wide and tall, like a lot of 1/1 counter decks. Aragorn is able to kill people with commander damage. You also have access to life game in the form of putting life counters on Aragorn. I highly suggest to many people, instead of choosing First Strike, Death Touch, or Vigilance on your creatures, give them lifelink. That access to lifelink in casual games is going to keep you alive. Aragorn's going to take people out in one shot. You don't care about spreading the love around, helping some people out with 1/1 counters, but you have enough interaction in this game to be kind of this mid-range, grindy deck that allows you to either win pretty quickly, being aggressive with a big wide swing with a lot of 1/1 counters, or playing a little slowly. There are a few cards that have come out since this that should probably go in here that give a little extra 1/1 counter stuff, and you can find space for them along the way. But that's the point. Find anything that likes counters, put the counters on Aragorn, spread the counters around. Doubling 1/1 counters or adding an additional 1/1 counter is going to help, because Aragorn will get those doubles. If you have 2, Aragorn gets 3, and then whatever else you give the 1/1 counters will get 3. If you want to run any other funny, cool 1/1 counter stuff as they come along, add them to the deck. It's what makes this deck interesting. It likes any counters, not just 1/1 counters. So whenever a new card comes out that says, hey, give haste counter or give a indestructible counter, you can spread that along everywhere, really pushing your luck. This is one of the first decks I made during this process of making every deck. My decks will probably get better from here. Izzy signing off. Love and peace.